And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another recap review of the MGM Plus original series, The Emperor of Ocean Park. We are on episode 9. We are directly at the finish line here. Boy, Lucas with my guy, Nate here. What is going on this evening, sir?
What up? What up? One more to go.
Hey, look here. We've braved through everything about what these goddamn arrangements are as everybody finally you get a semi reveal here to let you know exactly what's going on. But let's start at the top of the
Let,
episode here.
let me
Go
ask
ahead.
you a question real quick. Yeah, so we're
Uh-huh.
we're just about at the finish line, and
Mhm.
for a lot of us who had not read the book, who's just been
Uh-huh.
following along with the series here, the arrangements, Lisa, her boyfriend, there was Monica, Whitney, who else did DMX name? All those folks, right? We
About
finally
three
get the
Kims,
reveal. Yeah,
Latoya,
about
and Tina.
did the arrangements did they vary from what you know from the book?
Only thing so far that's varying is the way the arrangements are contained. That's the best way
Okay.
to put it.
Okay.
That's about it because we see by the end of this episode exactly what the judge is doing. So then we kind of know how, like, he's storing whatever these arrangements are. But you got to keep in mind the book is set up, I want to say, in the 80s. So legit, the judge had the arrangements on a floppy disk.
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say, I mean, we could obviously we'll go through the episode, but like the arrangements are a set of it's a contingency plan. If things go wrong for them, that would protect him and his wife, and also his legacy is a big thing here.
Hmm.
I think that was something that he wanted to ensure, that in terms of what he stands for and withholding the law, though he's done some things in his past, like he didn't want to throw dirt on his name by, basically unethically ruling on
Yeah.
certain cases. So on one end, this is a contingency plan, but at the other end, this is Uncle Jack being blackmailed,
Hmm.
and framed, and all of the
Hmm.
details in terms of what he how deep he is involved with these businesses. And I definitely I wanted to start off and talk about this is because
Hmm.
this is interesting. The portrayal of Uncle Jack and how we see these folks who have deep government ties
Hmm.
has really been it's almost a trope, but this has really been one that's been very fascinating to me, because while they do a lot of the normal things, I think it's rare that we see somebody who has these type of ties get in a situation like this,
Yeah.
where the measure of desperation of, and I guess on the finale we're going to find out that he's aware that he's been blackmailed, which is why ultimately in the present tense we see why he's like, I need the arrangements. Because as I predicted, I thought the arrangements had something to do with like off-seas accounts and stuff like that, which
Hmm.
could still be, because he says like, hey, they're monitoring my stuff, which means that they're monitoring the stuff. They definitely got eyes on what's happening on American soil, but
Yeah.
maybe he has some pockets in other places that he needs to get to. So that's where I was kind of going at with that. But we see that
Mm.
because he's desperate to get these arrangements, this obviously means that something got very close to Uncle Jack, that he realized that he's in trouble, he needs to get out of it, and he got to ensure that these things doesn't go out. So it's a little different, which is kind of refreshing from some of the normal tropes that you get with these
Yeah.
FBI corrupted I ain't gonna say FBI, but folks that have deep government
Uh,
roots
the ties.
yeah,
Yeah.
ties and connections,
Hmm.
um but just never played out in the way that we're seeing here. We're seeing both in a collision course, one for safety and contingency, and one for the measure of wanting to avoid
Hmm.
exposure. And it's interesting that it got this deep, because this went from like, hey, kill these two kids, which is completely horrendous. Like, let's not get it twisted. It's completely hideous crime that was done, but that job was over.
Mhm.
The judge was like, "Well, how long am I going to be on this with you?" Which I thought was an interesting question, because I'm like, "Well, he's going to rule in your favor for this case. That's the favor for the favor." And Uncle Jack was like, "Yeah, no, it's not working
Yeah.
like that." So we see Uncle Jack, doesn't matter who you are, if you're dealing with him, you're under his thumb. And
Yeah.
that's what the judge did not like. He, beyond his legacy and beyond his wife right there in his ear, like, we're not going to be having this type of in and outness with him.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, like, I would love to know, like, what she really wanted to say. You know, there was the definitely very layered conversation about
Mhm.
Uncle Jack being able to come in and out of the house, but I'm pretty sure there was some other
Oh,
very
you already
different.
know. He knows a certain word that she most likely called him about him. This blank coming in and out of our house all the time. We know. We know for a fact. Come on now.
So,
But
but yeah,
what's
it was interesting.
what's fun about the show, and I'll explain way more when we get to the finale, because the variations from the book are a lot bigger than most people would think. So it's a lot of things I won't talk about because it'll throw it off. I'll mention one thing, and that one thing won't throw off anything. In one of the clues that Talcott gets in the book is that it's not Lisa's boyfriend he's looking for, is Angela's boyfriend that he's looking for. And it's a completely different reference there than it has been for us trying to find out who the hell is Lisa's boyfriend, so we can see exactly who it is. And is it Reverend Pastor uh Senator Brown or whatever other variations of whatever he is as Lisa's boyfriend here. But in a book, it's something completely different. So we'll get it way more. I'll get way more in detail about just how different the book is, because again, I already told you all the book. Mariah wasn't a main character in the book. She's very much a side note in the book. So almost everything you see her doing in the show is due to the brilliant writing of the creator of the show,
Yeah,
because that
Sherman.
character does not exist in the book at all. Like
Yeah,
that's something that I think once we get to the end and we can compare it more to the book, I think you'll gain even more respect for the way this show was created, because
yeah.
they almost took a framework and then created a story around that framework that is similar in ways to the book, but in other ways are not similar at all.
Yeah, I want to also say, we talk about the creator, Sherman, who,
Hmm.
when we got a chance to talk to him in the beginning of the season, and obviously you knew a lot more than I did, I took, the notes that you gave me in terms of, like, how some of these characters were shallow within the
Hmm.
book, and how they gave them so much more depth in the series. And that's typically the case when you take something from a novel, graphic novel, or
Yeah.
whatever, and bring it into a film or a series, is that you have more room to storytell. But that doesn't always translate to characters getting it. They sometimes
Yeah.
could just flesh the story out much more,
Hmm.
but the characters. And I also would say, like, well, sure, it's easy to look at Forrest Whitaker and say, yes, that's a person I want to get more screen time, I need to give more story to. But when
Yeah.
you look at some of the other folks that come in, that comes in this, and the fact that what's her name, who plays Mariah, as you mentioned, is a character that you didn't get much of, but you gave her so much room, and
Yeah.
we've been praising her acting ability this entire time. That's a very early indication of, like, greatness on both ends, when like, hey, we got a character we want to stretch out, but we also got an actor we want to ensure that's
Yeah.
going to do it, that will do it, and has it seated at the highest level. I mean, that's a collaborative effort that, like, screams a measure of greatness, because it doesn't always happen like that. I've
No.
absolutely seen characters get way more screen time for no reason,
No
for no
reason.
reason possible, and then the
Mm.
actor just doesn't do anything with it, and
Shout
sometimes,
out! Shout out
again.
to Class of 1999 from FX.
Yes, that's a great example. Yes, yes. And again, it's a collaborative effort, because there's sometimes where the
Yes.
script is good and the acting isn't, and vice versa. So, This has been good, man. This has been good. And I'll be very honest. This wasn't my favorite episode because I have one big gripe about particular plot developments, and that's convenience. There was a hell of a lot of convenience in this. Like Mariah being in the right place at the right time. I'm like, either she like from Dragon Ball Z and she just got the ultimate teleporting abilities, or I don't know what, because she just wherever it's at, she there.
Hey, look here. In a world where ghosts can find free parking everywhere in New York, in a world where it takes all of 30 minutes to go from one spot to King's Landing, you know what? Sometimes
exactly.
Sometimes things like this happen.
Yeah,
sometimes things like this happen. But again, that's why I can't wait to the finale, because I think then we can talk. This book is not even a short, it's a dense book. This book is almost 700 pages long.
Yeah.
And he took that and completely created kind of a different experience. That still, if you haven't read the book, I think you would still enjoy reading the book. But if you have read the book, you at this point, you're lost on what the hell's going on in this show. But let's start off why you will be lost as we start off at the beginning of the episode.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just want to make sure that Tiffany Mack, make sure we properly accredit her and her work as Mariah Garland in this.
Yes, definitely. We start off the episode with Maxine dropping Talcott off after their meet and greet with the family, right after doing things they had no business doing in the first place. And here she tells him, this will be our last face-to-face encounter. Like, this can't happen. She's really, at this point, laying out the business with Talcott, even though we see that Tal kind of wants more with her, wants more time with her, wants more things with her. And then she ends up giving him a flash drive of his family and say, I know everything that's going on, but these are memories I collected or stole from you. But look at these and remember the happy times. What do you think about just the beginning of this episode, her laying down like the law on how they're going to move forward with one another, and then her giving him something so personal for him to still look at his family in a positive light?
I love me some Maxine. And that could be extremely biased because I love me some Jasmine. But so I'm just, whatever she's saying, I'm like, yep, whatever you want. I had to remember I was
not coming to America. Not coming, whatever you like.
I think this is a revelation of a character I didn't see coming at all. Because do we even know who she's working for? Because she's not working. Nope. Yeah, so there's another player still. There may be still one player that has yet to be revealed, because we'll talk about the end of the episode when we get there. But it's really sweet, man. I mean, Tal has not been really given W's at all this series, and for him to have somebody in his corner that is protecting him physically, matching him emotionally, and I would say also very like mentally as well. She's been there for him, giving him the flash drive and surrendering everything that she's had from him, but also taking something that clearly could probably scare a lot of folks. Like, so my whole life is on this. He's like, yes, but also there's a lot of goodness in it. Also, listen, as a little bit of a tech nerd here, shout out to her for digitizing all of those VHS stuff for him. Man, that's a hard ass job, you know.
That is not easy.
That's a couple $1,000 job right there. Shout out shout out for her doing God's work real quick, because God knows
that's why she didn't throw it away. I'd be damned after all the work I did. Will this not disappear?
Hey man, listen. So like, it was honestly a super sweet gesture. But then obviously her setting the boundaries here is because the work still has to be done. So that fake me out goodbye meant nothing, because she still has to protect him. So but I get it. He was whipped because that's who he is as a character. He's a sucker for love. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's what it is. His dynamic was like, hey, please stay. She's like, yeah, but no, I gotta work still. You know, I still gotta protect you. And I think she's a little bit emotionally attached to, but I think she's prioritizing the job first. before she let the emotions do the talking. So it was just a sweet moment for the two of them, and we'll see what happens next. And if he messes up, I'm telling you right now, if he messes up, I'm pulling up to him right there in that school lot, same way. Except for me, Nail pulled the punch. I won't. I'm fighting for my lady. little nasty Nail pulling his punches, getting all big chested, but pulled the punch. But listen,
you know what makes a person mad, or the maddest humanly possible? You swing with all your might, and a person don't swing back.
Yeah,
he's like, nah, I got her. It's cool.
Yeah,
you'll be mad. Like that's that meme of 50 Cent when he looks across at the other car and just laugh and pull off.
Yeah,
that's what that was.
Yeah,
because at that point, I would want to hurt you even more. Because if you don't swing back, it just seems unfair.
I gotta be honest too. I've always, I mean, we talked about it like on so many different things, but like not particularly in this case. And I firmly agree with what you're saying. But I do feel if there is a measure of a conflict and you want to fight and get it off your chest, and then you resolve and dap it up and we move on with it, I think that's very admirable between folks. Obviously, him saying, "Are we cool?" was him not reading the room, but I get what he was getting at a little bit there. He looked at it like, I won.
Is it him not reading the room or him not caring? Because he like, oh no, we could, because I'm great. Like,
yeah. I will say too, I think they played the maturity right there too, because I think somebody young, and we've seen this across so many different measures of media out there, where the young cat swoops in and get the older whatever, and he think just because he holding her hand and that they all good, you know. And sometimes it's work. I mean, looking at Jordan and whatever her name, Pippen, Marcus and whatever her name is.
But he's doing coke in Italy. Like, come on, we gotta put things on it.
Which is the one case where it actually happens to work. But like any other time, let's go back to the show.
But what I loved about this whole scene is that Maxine doesn't change as a character. Normally, we see after the protagonist has sex with this person who's been following, they immediately fall in love, and then she just throws everything away for love. And here she's like, no, I still have a job to do. Like, this is why we can't interact with each other. It is so straightforward and refreshing to get a strong female character that does that on a show. Because we all see the opposite of it every time humanly possible. They fall in love, and then all of a sudden everything goes out the window. And here she's like, no, I still have business to take care of. But here, take this flash drive of VHS tapes that and Betamaxes, because some of them also is Betamax that I fixed for you for your family, and enjoy this. But we can't see each other face to face anymore. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. But speaking of a couple not seeing each other face to face a lot, next up we have Mariah and Howard. As here they talk about what Mariah was told at the meeting with Addison. And here, I think this is a realistic depiction of someone losing all faith in their hero, because she immediately loses all respect for the judge after she finds out this information, even though her husband here tries to be the voice of reason and saying, if someone killed one of our kids, I would think about doing the same thing, and her completely dismissing him like, but you just think about it, you wouldn't do it. Like, we see here just how hurt she is to find out that the judge is flawed like any other person. So we kind of understand the pedestal she put him on. What did you think about this scene? And do you think that she was detached enough to saying that she wouldn't hurt anyone who harmed one of her kids because she's not a real mother on the show?
I mean, honestly, that's not even a reach, because she gets a big dose of that very, very soon in the episode. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think this episode really gave a lot of resolve, and I think this is a plot detail that I think a lot of other shows would have possibly skipped. Her obsession her dad dying of natural cause was just something that she was not willing to come off of. And I think really sitting there and wait, let me ask you a question real quick. What does her husband serve for her in her life at this point?
A bank.
Yeah, you're right.
Because that's what it feels like. It feels like a bank more than anything else to her.
Yeah, because I'm not thinking about it. It's like I'm about to sit here and like go into detail, but I'm like, that venting session could be actually worth something if that was actually a place where she possibly valued what he thought.
If she felt safe there. This whole show has been her feeling safe other places besides her husband. So you kind of wonder. I think she took to heart exactly what the judge told her. Like, you have a great life, but you'll never be happy. You'll never be fulfilled with him. And I love that that's a running theme, and we see it with their interactions with one another, that it's a running theme in this show. So I think that was more revealing than anything else in that scene, is that she still doesn't view him fully as a safe space.
Yeah.
He's just the person I married. I had kids with him. 9 times out of 10 now, we could kind of put or summarize she possibly did it despite her father because of what he said. And I'm going to follow through this with this anyway. And now I'm unhappy. Damn it, he was right. And now I got to deal with it. Like, I think that's all of that is right there, especially in that scene between them two. But next up, we have our first time jump of the episode, and we go to 2004. Here is where Jack corners the judge in a diner about a ruling that needs to be made. And then he gives him a very slight warning of what would happen if he didn't make this ruling. Only reason we need to talk about this because this is their first interaction of this timeline where we see kind of Jack being more stern with the judge, exactly what needs to take place here. What did you think, or how did you feel this would affect everything else we've seen prior between these two? And would this be the start of the end of the friendship?
Yeah, I wouldn't even go as far as then, but I definitely knew it was going to pry them apart in the sense of it being more business centric than casual catching up.
Yeah.
So the friendship aspect is definitely put to the side in this measure of using one another, but in this case, Jack using the judge.
Yeah.
Is the more focal reason or motivation behind their encounters.
Yeah. And then next up, still in 2004, we see the proceedings happening, and we see exactly how bothered the judge is, kind of knowing that he has to rule a certain way. But then after hearing the case, we see him go back with his law clerk, who we've not seen since the first episode. He testified against the judge for him meeting with Jack. But here he talks with his law clerk, and the law clerk is kind of clear. Like, and this is what law clerks do, people. They kind of help judges focal their attention. Like, case law would lead you in this direction here. And we see the judge question everything down to asking for the case law to back up whatever decision he's making. Here we see it is all setting up for him deciding exactly if he's going to have to rule with Jack, finding precedents to do so, or if he does not rule against Jack, that's just trying to research enough stuff to understand exactly what direction he's going in. I don't think it's much to talk about here because this is just a setup scene for everything else that's happening moving forward. Next up, we go back to the present, and we have Mariah at the gravesite trying to exhume her father's body to see how he died. This scene was so funny to me that she would even go to these lengths. But when she gets there, even the people at the cemetery telling her, I don't believe you have the power to do this. And this is where we see, I think this was Uncle Mel, show up and letting her know, like, technically you don't have the power to do this. I'm his lawyer. It's very strict. You don't have the power to do this.
Yeah.
But here, he's telling her here, we get the medical records, and I'll have a doctor sit and explain to you what happened. Did you think here that Uncle Mel was setting her up to try to help cover up something?
Nah, because this is a running theme for this is we get the white man cameo.
Yeah, well, at least there's no white saviors in this show.
Not at all.
for all the white folks in this show, in a black show, not a single one of them has been a white student.
No,
That is refreshing.
and again, there's always the transitional person to whatever the next thing is the connecting the dot type of character. I will also say, attention to detail, that while she called him Uncle Mel, he made it very clear that he got the uncle title just by being around, because he referred to the judge he referred to somebody as whatever. These were just
He referred to the judge as his client.
Yeah, it's kind. There we go. I'm about to say, yeah. There we go. Yeah. So
your dad shit went out the window. Like, no, my client.
Yeah.
So he knew when to put that hat on quick.
Yeah. So in case there's anybody who isn't black watching this, just to fill in the dots here, is that we have a really bad habit of always introducing somebody in the family as a relative when even they might not even either understand that or even want to assume that role. So Uncle Jack, Uncle Mel, where's Uncle Bob at? He's somewhere around the corner. Listen, my man, the judge, he kept a couple of white boys on him at all times. That's why he ain't never getting into nothing.
And made all the white folks uncles. That is something that is rare. I didn't know that happened. I did not know that happened.
Yeah.
My mom grew up with lots of very positive white folks who helped do a lot of things. I ain't never.
Notice how the black doctor wasn't uncle anybody.
Or the reverend. Like, how the reverend was uncle? But Uncle Jack. Oh man, come on, bro. Oh man, but next up we get Talcott as he's going over the flash drive of everything that Maxine gave him, and we see just the history of the stuff that she was able to collect, down to the stuff from Abby and the judge, from the camcorder the judge had. I don't know how she got her hands on this many files and this much information from them. But while Talcott is going through the flash drive, he receives a text about showing a picture of his son, and then saying, you have 24 hours. He turned into Jack Bauer so fast. 24 hours to get the arrangements. Well, basically, something's going to happen here. The next scene is him driving frantically, trying to get to Kimber and Bentley, and then him calling Uncle Jack.
Yeah. Go ahead. It's something I want to talk about, but go ahead.
Jack. And then here is when he finds out, one, that Uncle Jack, very adamant, says, I have nothing to do with this. If anyone attempts to harm that kid, they'll have to answer to me. Just from that point, what did you just think about that setup of everything? And then that call to Uncle Jack. And did that put assurance in Talcott's mind that Uncle Jack didn't do anything? Or do you still think like, nah, he clearly thinks everything is set up?
There's a lot to consider. Uncle Jack has said that he needed the arrangements to protect the family, or he was going to protect the family by any means necessary. Either way, the family is on his good side. So
yeah,
I take him for his word. I don't think he killed the judge, and I think he is going to protect the family one way or another. And I think he's shown interest and investment into the family throughout all the flashbacks, and whether they are unaware of this, I think for the viewer's perspective, we know that Uncle Jack is an ally to the Garlands. So that's the first thing. So him calling and finding that out should have hopefully been another designator for them that he's on their side. But then the next question becomes, well, who else could it be? And obviously we get a little bit of answer later, but that still doesn't solve all of the players on the table,
on the board.
You're on the board. And I think they fully explain in a way that I have peace in terms of why, when we get there, the other particular party wanted the arrangement. So the arrangements, we know, has connections to the businesses, has connections to the judge, blackmails, it totally blackmails Uncle Jack. But what may blackmail Uncle Jack maybe benefit for somebody else is the aspect of it. So now we see that whoever can get the arrangements has some measure of use and benefit for whatever their greater purpose may be. So It's all a collision course as to it. So anyway, to make sure I answer the question, Tal doesn't have enough time to process that Uncle Jack is on his side. He's just trying to scramble to figure out what he can do to protect his son. Now, what would have been really funny if he had a picture of his son and Kimber, and this whole motivation was like, I gotta protect my son, and never mentions Kimber the entire time. I wanted that energy. I wanted him to be like, yeah, I got fuck that Kimber. No, I gotta protect my son in here. Like you figure it out, but I'm protected. Like, good old Ghost and Tariq action here.
There you go. But I think that throws Tal off at the end is Uncle Jack still saying, by the way, you'll never be safe until you get these arrangements. Like, Uncle Jack is very consistent about what he's telling Tal. Like, no, in the end, these arrangements are more important than anything that you've put your attention into.
I think it should be detailed that Uncle Jack's protection has got to be A1, because for whatever Uncle Jack is trying to prevent them from, he also is guarding, shielding himself from too, and he hasn't been touched. So that tells you that, his security A1.
There you go. Next up is a quick scene in 2004, as we see here the judge just attempts to get himself recused from the case, begging to get kicked off the case. Like this just shows his level of desperation to attempt to separate himself from Jack. Not much to talk about there because that's all that happens. The next scene is a lot to talk about here, and that is when Mariah goes and meets with the doctor. And the doctor gives her the piece of information of something that all Black people go through with older parents. And that is them hiding everything and not telling you anything else. So we find out that, one, it was a heart attack with the judge. That the doctor recommended a valve replacement. And the judge said, I'm too old to do that, and decided against doing it, which led to him having a heart attack. We don't need to talk about the news that she got. What did you think what did you think about her reaction to the news?
I don't know.
And only ask because here it deflates everything that she thought was going on.
Right. I agree. That's sort of the thing. Somebody who's been so righteous in trying to debunk the natural cause thing, that she finally gets the answer and it's deflating to her entire cause. I think if there was time to kind of dive into this on a more mental level, I think it would be interesting to see how we talk about, I mean, we say this all the time about like the generational trauma about how parents hide stuff from their kids and how they assume it's the right thing to do, but how detrimental it could be. And I think why I say it's detrimental is because like understanding whatever he may have been going through health wise and how he's been hiding his health may actually be something that could be hereditary within the family. And I mean, like, I can't tell you how many times I've been to the doctors and they start asking you, does your family have a history of da 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 da? And you'd be like, I don't think so. And then when somebody passed in your family, you'd be like, well, hold on. This ain't come out this generation, you know? So it is one of those type of things where I kind of like put myself in her shoes and think like, to kind of get that news is kind of like, damn, like it makes sense. I wish they had just been honest about it. We lost blah, 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 you know, earlier generation or some cousin or something to something very similar. Or obviously Black folks, we can always go down to just our bad eating habits at the time where a lot of this has caused a lot of heart disease and hypertension and all sorts of different stuff like that. So, you know, it kind of checks out. And the very stubborn response by him is, I'm too old to do this. The doctor would have never suggested the proper procedure as him being a Black man himself if he wasn't within the range that could accept this. So it's just those type of things, man. And I will say what's consistent about it is the judge is prideful. This man didn't think he was going to die. It goes back to what I said the first day. If he was going to die, he would have absolutely planned out everything. That's why the arrangements didn't have anything to do with his death. The arrangements had everything to do with the contingency for him and his wife and the family. But he never thought he was going to die. That's why him dying was untimely. And it was one of those type of things where I said, like, if he had known he was going to die, things would have probably been a little bit more different. But he had always been a prideful man that had always thought 2 steps ahead, and his death definitely wasn't something that he was encountering. He was expecting, because a heart attack ain't something that, I mean, yeah, you get signs, but it's still, again, I think a lot of us historically didn't realize how impactful it was to our community until people started saying, like, a lot of Black people are dying from this. We need to take care of this.
Disease is one of the leading killers of Black men. Like, that happens a lot. But what this scene did more than anything is, if you notice, we have not seen Mariah grieve this entire series.
Just the first episode.
She used, not even the first episode. We saw her kind of at the gravesite, but then she quickly used someone had to do this as a distraction to her grief.
Yeah.
So she's not fully mourned the point that her dad is gone. She used the thought that someone is responsible for it as a way to push her grief away.
Fair.
And what the doctor does here, and he says it in the end to her, everyone processes grief differently.
Yeah.
And she decided to throw her head, her everything, into a conspiracy theory that someone had to kill her father. Because there's no way this man, who she loved, who she possibly thought was the strongest person in the world, could have ever died from a heart attack. Yeah. That's humanly impossible. Down to her saying, I've gone through all this. I had all his medical stuff. Yeah, nothing was wrong with him. And then when she gets that information, she immediately becomes defeated. Because it's like, oh, wow, like, he did just die. So now you have to process. Even at an older age, it's hard when you lose both parents. Yeah. And you feel like a parentless child. And that's what she's going through here. Because they lost their mom, so he was the only one left. And he was the pillar of the family. And now that he's not there, and now that you can't blame someone else for his death, he just died of natural causes, all that grief floods to you because you can't place the blame on anyone else. That's why I love just the silence of Tiffany's performance in this scene. You can just feel everything bubbling up in Mariah, noticing, like, there's no more escape from this. I have to now deal with the point that my father's gone. So I think it was an awesome setup the way they did that. But next up, we have Tal as he tracks down Kimber and his son. And here he gets to the door, just like all Black women who mad at Black men. You ain't answering my text. He shows her the picture that someone sent him of their son. And she immediately says, what do your father's arrangements have to do with us? And this is where we get the weirdest conversation of the episode to me. One, what do you think they would have to do with y'all? You're his family. Tal needs to find arrangements. Why wouldn't y'all be a threat here? But we also hear Kimber telling him that the confirmation hearing has gone up in smoke because of everything that started happening with Max, because of all the research behind the scenes. And then she tells Tal, instead of us coming with you, which is what Tal wants, maybe it's better if you leave us alone, because if they believe we're separate, maybe we're safer that way. What did you just think about that piece of information and how Tal is now processing the point that it could be him who's putting his family in danger and no one else?
Yeah, I mean, it's correct criticism. Plus, he's used to her directing, so he's always going to take that a little bit closer to the heart anyway. But also, we're just not going to pretend like she ain't just throw in the fact that, like, her campaign is up in smoke in the midst of their son being in danger. See, somehow, some way, had to make it all about her. Yeah, just decided always. Like, let me make sure you also know that although we're separated right now, my life ain't good because it's in smoke, because we know why. But I came here to give you a conversation about the son being dead.
And then at the end, she ends it with, plus, if you just leave us alone, we'll be safe. Like, just leave us alone. You ain't got to come here no more. Like, you brought them to us. They ain't know where we was at till you got here. Like, she blaming everything on Tal. Even though, granted, if we think about it, it's literally the same conversation that Howard and Mariah had.
Yeah.
After their kids were threatened. And he's like,
Yeah.
stop doing this.
Yeah.
You're putting them in danger. No one
Yeah.
else is. And now Tal's going through the same thing with Kimmer as she tells him, you're putting Bentley in danger. That's a hell of a name for a black kid. Bentley in danger here. No one else is. So it's that realization that Tal has to come through, that just maybe the pursuit of all this is not a good thing for you to find out.
Listen, by the way, she had no sense of fear here. So
None.
I am a little suspicious of her.
Hey, okay, I thought I saw.
Yeah, which is why, like, yeah, if you would have imagined if she felt like there was a threat, she might have focused on the threat, but she had to throw in there that her life is in shambles because
you showed her a picture of her son
for somebody
some
else.
Random person took.
Yeah,
and she stood there as stoic and calm as humanly possible to let you know, by the way, my life is in shambles right now. Oh man, that's hilarious. But yeah, we see what's going on next with them. But in the following scene, the funniest scene of the episode is Mariah attempts to get the kid's mom to clean up a mess that she made in the kitchen. And then proceeds to get motherly advice from her children's mother on how to deal with grief. And in the end, she gives her now surrogate mother a hug and says, we need to talk more. I know it ain't much to talk about in this scene. I just found it hilarious that she spilled something on the kitchen counter and said, could you please go clean that up? I don't want the counter to stain. And then proceeded to sit there for the motherly advice from her children's mother.
Yeah.
Like
that for anybody, listen, if anybody here thinking Consuela is not getting paid good, just remember how much she's been paying other folks to do things very insignificant. So just know her wiping up that wine was probably going to get her like a quick 10,000. Just understand.
Consuela makes $250,000 a year to be their nanny. Ain't no way. Shit, I clean.
Yeah,
she probably got a great 401k, amazing health benefits. Like, she is rich. Okay.
Yeah, you ain't got nothing to worry about there. She is taken care of. So I know that was kind of like a little lazy. Like, why didn't she just do it? Well, when you're making $450,000 a year, there's chump change for them, by the way, just to establish how loaded they are. But yeah,
we're gonna eventually have a conversation that they have a private jet to understand the amount of money that Howard has. They have a private jet. Like, we're gonna have to circle back around to that, because I think we haven't seen the private jet since the first episode when they flew in after her dad died. We're gonna have to have a conversation just how much money that Howard has. Yeah, because and I'm so mad you called her Consuela.
Call your boy Sousa. If you're doing that good, man, you might be able to adopt me too at this rate.
Shit. Hell, if you fire her, I'll be the babysitter. But next up, we go back to 2004, and here is the judge trying to be as sneaky as humanly possible, following the opposing counsel to their neighborhood to go to their grocery store and attempting to have a conversation with them. And here he was trying to have exactly what she pointed out, which is an ex parte conversation with her, because he knew if he has that conversation, she reports they had that conversation, he has to be removed from the case. But then he gets not necessarily physical with her, but very demanding on what she needs to do, and then tells her to file for a change of venue. I'll push everything through. What did you think about the level of desperation here from the judge to attempt his best to not have to rule in Jack's favor?
That's it. That's exactly what it was. Stooping real low for this one.
Yeah.
I thought he did put her hands on her too, by the way.
Well, he grabbed her by her arm. I didn't want to say he was being physical. He was just he grabbed her to get her attention. Because, you can't necessarily yell out in the grocery store to file for a change of venue. Like, I don't think that would be the smart. I don't think it was smart to even approach her in a grocery store. But nonetheless, if you're gonna do it, you don't do that from a distance. You need to do that up close and personal, just because other ears could be around. But when she said you're hurting me, I think that was just showing his level of desperation to attempt to get her to do whatever she needed to do to get him off of this case. And we saw how that worked for him. Next up is Mariah at the judge's house as she's wrapping up everything. And Tal calls to let her know that what happened to Bentley. And then after that, telling her a plan to attempt to get the arrangements now. Did you think here that he actually had or knew for sure what they were? Or did you just know he was just trying to make up something?
Yep. Called his bluff off break.
Yeah. Next up, we go back to 2004, and here the judge arrives home, and who's sitting with his wife by their fireplace? Jack. And here the wife gets up and leave, and this is where Jack lets the judge know, I know everything you're doing to get off of this case. You need to be smart and stop trying to do this. Like, he also lets him know that what he's currently doing to the judge isn't blackmail. It's a favor. The exact same favor he did for him. Now, we talked about it before. While it was going on, even before we got to the end of the last review, we said, if Jack is doing this for you, it's clearly not going to come without a cost here. You're going to have to pay the piper. And here, what do you think about the Jack still coming across friendly in a way to the judge by letting them know, like, dude, I'm not blackmailing you. I did you a favor, a huge favor. Even during the favor, Jack told him, if we go down this path, there's no turning back. He gave him every warning and every possibility to not do it.
He wasn't thinking at it far. I would say that Uncle Jack popping up like the debt collector is hilarious. But that's how you gotta be with people when you loan them money and they ain't trying to pay you back. Because that's the thing. People damn sure will have their hands out, ask for a stat. But man, I got you soon as I get paid, which we already know. The moment people get paid, they see a big plus in their bank account, not a negative because they owe you. So he just saying, like, just in case you forgot, you owe me a favor for what I did. But I don't. The other thing I really took from this is that Uncle Jack connections are deep.
Yeah,
you ain't. I don't care. Every conversation you have, every move you make, every step you take, he ain't gonna be missing. He watching you.
Hey, every step you take, I'm watching you, Joe. Oh man, but again, that I think that's a great point. Is that the judge seems bewildered that this will happen, and someone who's watching the show, you're like, wait a minute, you had him kill 2 people for you. Where did you think this was going? Did you think that, those deaths will be it? Oh, we're good after that. No, sir. No, you owe me a lot more than fixing a couple of cases that I had to kill 2 people. One body, and you owe me like 20 favors. What Rick Ross say? I know Noriega, he owe me 100 favors. That's that's exactly where we're at with here. That's why it's so interesting to see just their interactions here, because the judge just seems so lost.
Yeah,
like this shouldn't be something he expected to happen. But next up, we go back to present time, and this is Tal meeting up with Mariah as they go over a plan to come up with fake arrangements. As he said, I didn't know who was listening. That's why I said I had the arrangements, because it's ears everywhere. This is Tal being extremely paranoid because he does not necessarily know what's going to happen here. But here is them working out the plan for the fake arrangements here. I don't think it's much to talk about here because that's just them working out the plan. It's way more interesting what happens on later on when they try to fully execute everything. Next up in 2004, quick thing is the judge rules against Jack's interests. What's even more interesting here is Shaft walks into courtroom right before the ruling.
You damn right.
Right.
I ain't gonna lie.
Hey.
Real talk, when dude first came in, I said, oh my God. I quickly looked and I was like, that's one of them Jamaicans from the Steven Seagal movies. I was like, oh, Yep, the bar for. I was like, oh snap, that's it for the judge. Write them all right
Oh,
now.
don't tell me that's the connection. That Jack is doing these favors for Screwface.
Hey, that might check out actually.
Hey, but again, it was just very interesting to see that and just see how calm he was in the courtroom as the judge was. The
He
judge
was.
just couldn't put his morals to the side,
Guess
and
how
we
many
see just
black
how
people was in
strong
that
he
room
is.
right now?
Hey,
Two.
like
The
it's
judge and him. He was sticking
you don't
out like a
know
motherfucker.
you don't know it's another big ass black man walking in that room. Like the judge noticed him because he clearly looked up and saw, oh, that's a big black man. He ain't got no business being here.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of white folks here, and this other big black man walks into the room.
and he had
I
to
don't
look
know who.
like
Someone else in that courtroom thought the judge and him was related. You
a
already
thousand
know.
percent, thousand
There's
percent.
no way. There's no way two of you are here at the same time. Like, but next up, we go back to present time. And here is when Tal visits the judge's grave. But here is also where he kind of puts the plan together on exactly how the move forward with these fake arrangements and using the grave sites to do so. So here next, he calls Dana, who I finally learned her name. Did not into I don't know how this entire show. I just kept on calling her Tal's investigative friend, who happens to also be a professor. He calls Dana here to ask for her help, but here she tells him something's going on with Mark, another character that I did not know I needed to care about until this episode. But something happened with Mark in the university, and he needs to get there as soon as possible. I don't think there's much here to talk about. Not in this scene particularly. It's way more again talk about what happens later on with them. Next up is Mariah goes to the bank to open up an account to get a safe deposit box here. When she comes out in and outy, we see good old Lionel.
Where?
Lionel Jefferson.
Why? Why is he there? What he do at the bank?
Hey, none of this is explained. Even later on, none of this is explained why he would have been there with Mariah. But
Yeah.
here we just unless he was doing completely different business and she just happened to partake and see the Audi, and it's not necessarily he was there for her, but he was there doing something else. But Mariah put two and two together when she see the Audi. That's all I can think of here.
And truly, if this is all being done by good old Kimmer, sending the young bull to follow Mariah, sending another person to follow Tal. I mean, granted, that will resolve my hesitations with or my issues with this episode about the convenience. If he's actually working and not actually just
because right now at this point it seems like Kimber is the other person looking for the arrangements. He was way too calm when you threatened her child, and now we see this mysterious young man who she's clearly sleeping with following Mariah for it. Maybe the audience is right. I do have to give it to you because you kind of said, I think in episode 2 or 3, that the young boy had something to do with the following that was going on with Tal here. So my man, we're gonna have to talk about later how he was fucking Tal's wife and still bought him some sneakers. Like, that's crazy.
I mean, I said that last week. I was like, wait a minute now. Yeah. Wait a minute now. Also, like he got a whole hammer through at his Audi, and he didn't think that was just not going to become a factor. Like, is he trying to be undiscoverable or what? I'm confused. That's the other thing. Are you trying to fly under the radar, or are you like, what's the whole deal?
A young boy following orders.
Yeah. That's probably what it is.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Next, after that, we get the information with Mark. I don't necessarily know any of this stuff is being important. I know it affects Kimber in a way, so I'm assuming that's why we focused on the character a lot, as we find out that Tal has to go to a disciplinary hearing for Mark, as Mark never graduated college. He faked his bar
He
exam.
lied about everything.
So much white privilege. He's like George Santos. Like, all you need to do is be light. You can get away with telling as many lies as humanly possible. Or my man from Suits. Because only white people can get away with doing stuff like that.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
But let's go back to 2004 as Jack approaches the judge at not a diner, but it looks like a country club of some form after the ruling of everything that happens. But he tells the judge, oh no, just at the diner, because then he tells the judge to turn the newspaper and look at the article. And in there, we see that the lawyer the judge ruled for has been murdered.
It wasn't even. I mean, it's not even funny. But damn, Jack, you are a funny dude, bro.
Hey, he was like, "Let me show you what happens next if you don't follow what happens here." Like, I'm
Hey,
not gonna. You won't be hurt, but you'll get other people hurt
hey,
by not following.
let me tell you what's so funny about this. The black dude being in the back of the courtroom observing what's happening, and he's looking
Mhm.
at the judge, looking straight through the person he's about to have to kill. Because I'm pretty sure it was him that had to do it. But
Yep.
beyond him doing the job, Uncle Jack made it very important that he said, "Now go make sure this gets printed in the paper too, because I need that for my presentation." And then pick me up the paper, okay? All right, bet.
Hey, like, the judge had to have the paper also. Didn't even see it in this. And Jack was like, "No, he's gonna have his breakfast in the morning. He's gonna get this paper. I'm gonna show up and tell you, by the way, turn to the back of the paper." And this is back in 2004. No quick stuff being printed. That means she had to be murdered before 6 p.m. so it could get into the paper.
And Uncle Jack's,
a lot of timing happened here.
Yeah, Uncle Jack's murders must be clean because they don't leave nothing open for investigation. Once them joints happen, they just on to the next.
They put her face in the paper. We know good and well. Normally, when people die, you don't get to name the person until you know the
Hell
name.
no.
Uncle Jack, set it up. Just put it in the paper. He needs to see this.
Yeah.
But he also lets the judge know that he's giving him a new case to rule on. Here again, it's no necessarily good big details or a big reveal about this case that he gives him the rule on. Next up is the judge just doing exactly that as he rules completely in favor of Uncle Jack. But the interesting part is what happens after the case. One, you get to see his law clerk come in and give him praise for the way he viewed the law. But then the judge asks him, "Can you show me how to scan all the documents for the case for my own records?" So for people that don't know, that's what all judges do. When you get your case, you can actually take all the case files and keep all the records yourself. But here, while scanning it, is where the judge, I believe, comes up with the idea for the arrangements. I think it was scanning. We see him with a voice recorder at this point in time, with him scanning the document. So that's just a setup to let us know exactly how we possibly get to the point of what the arrangements are. But next up, we go back in present day and we get Tal, Mariah, and Dana as they come up with the plan, hiding a key in a safe deposit box next to a grave to get the person who is looking for the arrangements out in the open. Here's just, and I think this is one of the smartest plans of how you can possibly fake something, by having Dana set it up. That way, neither one of them are nowhere near anything, but then having them come out later to feel like they discovered
brilliant
something was located at. Like, that was a awesome setup to have done that way. But next up is the big confrontation. As Tal and Dana and Mariah leaving the school, Mariah sees Lionel and tells Tal, "That is the person that's in the Audi. That's the person that was following me." And Tal approaches Lionel about the arrangements, and he quickly says, "I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm fucking your wife. And I'm her man now. I'm the captain."
Yeah.
And see Tal quickly get mad, punch him, and my man ate Tal's punch like it was nothing, and then said, "We all right now? Because I'm still going to be fucking her."
Look at me. I'm the captain now. I'm the captain now.
I'm Bentley's father now.
Hey, could you imagine if he had said that? Oh my god, this would be the funniest show in the entire planet, bro.
Oh no.
This would have been on Zeus Network by the end of the episode. As soon as he would have said that. Now I'm Bentley's father, bitch. You would have got that.
Hey. Or the moment he punched him, all he had to say was, "We good now? So now could you leave me and my family alone? Me, my wife, and my son."
That would have sent it right to freeform right after that. Hey,
again, that's just another big reveal. Again, it's putting pieces together here and eliminating pieces off the board.
Yeah.
But eliminating things that could possibly have to do with the arrangements off the board.
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it either. He's being puppet mastered by her.
Oh no,
And
I ain't buying that Kimber is off the board. I'm
no,
buying
I'm not
he's
buying.
off the board.
I'm not buying that.
Because
She's just using him for something.
she's clearly a great manipulator here.
Yeah, 1000%.
And he a kid.
Yeah, because also with her so worried about the optics about what's happening in her home with Tal, why would you invest into a young boy at work knowing that was also going to be even worse?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like she's been so worried and concerned about this stuff the entire time. So why even engage in a situation like that? Which I don't know if we able to tell how long it's been happening, but for the duration of the show and the duration of her being focused on this campaign, that would indicate that this is something that she's been doing until she got caught. And she wasn't willing to give it up until she got caught. And that's when she had to very out loudly say, we can't do this no more. Blah, blah, blah.
You said it seemed like it was an act that she was putting on when she said that.
1000%.
Now, I got the pettiest question in the world. Do you think Kimber gave him the shoes to give Tal because she know he likes shoes?
so petty on so many accounts because you're making the guy you fucking give the guy that you're married to a pair of shoes. That no one wins there but her. So yes, the answer is yes. He absolutely did. And what shoes were they? Because they were Kobe's, but they weren't like the Bruce Lee's or nothing. They were just some whatevers, right?
They would. I don't know. We gotta go back and see because if you gave him some Grinches, I understand.
Nah, they weren't. They were yellow. They weren't no Grinches. Nah, I would have easily.
They didn't have to be the Bruce Lee. They had to be the Bruce Lees if they were yellow.
I don't know, man. I think they could have just been some off-brand yellow ones. But if he had given them Bruce Lees, that's a different conversation there.
Yeah, you can have my wife for some Bruce Lees, Joe. 2004. Yeah, she yours, dog. She yours. Next up, we go to 2004, and here the judge invites Jack to dinner. But here we know he did this strictly to set up everything he needed to get out of Jack. But here, Jack offers the judge money for ruling in his favor, and the judge quickly declines. But the most interesting thing in the world here happens. Jack decides to open up a trust at North Carolina or a scholarship at North Carolina in Abigail's name.
Yeah.
With the judge's dirty hush money.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna ask.
Smart manipulation move here. One, also, this was a good move by him because he was like, I'm just gonna throw the money in after the fines, but he says, fine, I'll take the money and do something good that you know your emotions will be tied to. Yeah. Also, him happened to utter that Abby wanted to go to UNC, right? Is that what she said?
UNC?
Yeah,
like John Edwards.
Yeah, instead of where he wanted her to go. Princeton. I think that was also Princeton. Yeah. Right. So that was also another moment of him just like, you know, it's just a tender, delicate moment for him, and him being able to take the money to start the fund. It's good. He could have did better because obviously if he had opened and donated to the Queen's Child Project, you know, we wouldn't have anything to talk about here. But no, we'll take
still be alive if you'd have donated to Queen's Child Project.
Nah, he did the right thing. He's keeping the manipulation over him by doing so. So I thought that was right because I felt like the judge probably would have just threw the money away unless the wife got involved. She probably would have took it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But here also, this is where he tells him, let him know, like at this point, the committee is really looking at him, like they're coming down for me for everything that I've been doing overseas. But then he tells the judge also, eventually, you'll grow to love our partnership. So I think that has way more to do with the amount of money that their partnership will bring in with the judge continuously ruling on these cases and how that would work out. That's the only thing that would make sense for him to say. Eventually, you'll enjoy our partnership. Next up, still in that time period, we find out about the recordings. Here's where the judge laid out everything humanly possible. Here on his computer, we see just the amount of files he's collected here. And everything was to ensure his safety from Jack and his family safety from Jack here. What did you think about this setup? We talked about the arrangements. We talked about what the arrangements were here. But the judge went to these lengths, especially for someone who knew nothing about technology. We've clearly seen it multiple. He asked how to learn how to use a scanner in this exact same episode. He went from learning how to use a scanner to being able to record everything humanly possible to set up what these
As
arrangements
by
are.
any means necessary, the job had to be done. He had to ensure the safety and the protection of his family with his wife looking over his shoulders. You know, that's the real judge. And she
Yeah,
wanted
you talked about before. Yep.
So yeah, no surprise there. Listen, a little bit of motivation will get anybody to do anything, you know.
Hey, a black woman will get you to do anything. Listen, you don't want that wrath behind you. You don't know no better. You better act like you know better.
Yeah.
She just said, you're gonna record Jack, you're gonna take that money. He did everything she said without a question.
Yeah.
Like that's the great part about this show also is their relationship and just how no matter what, she got his back, but she has no issue putting her foot down on how things are going to run in this household. Next up, and the end of the episode, we get back to present day. Here's Tal making it seem like he's going to get the arrangement from a gravesite. He sees a gun pointed at him, turns around, and it is blown up Agent McDermott with a gun pointed at Tal. And Tal says, I thought you were dead. He said, did you see me blow up in the
car? Hilarious.
But here he goes to take it from Tal. We see Tal had a gun here out of nowhere to me. Because that was the first shot that went off where he got McDermott off of him. And then we see a shootout ensue between McDermott and Maxine, who shows up to save Tal. Once she kills Agent McDermott, we hear another shot go off, and Tal has now been shot in the gut, and the episode ends with Mariah, not Maxine, as she's off somewhere else. Mariah hunching next to Tal and begging for help. What did you just think about this whole setup, how the setup went with them at the end of this episode, and then who could possibly be this third shooter all of a sudden?
Yeah, the third shooter probably is the business person. Kimmer would be nuts. Kimmer would be nuts. Or whoever is it's obviously somebody else on the board, and that's whoever that's who that person is going to be. The very dramatic ending of, oh my God, Tal, don't die. I mean, Tal can't die. We need more Tal for season 2, right? So that's not happening. I mean, could it be their brother? Could it be their brother?
Oh, I don't know. So. I don't think Addison would shoot Tal.
I don't know. There's no shooter. I mean, well, yeah, there's 2 shooters that can actually shoot. All right. Anyway, let me get back on track. The dramatic cliffhanger of Tal being shot is definitely a good way to end episode 9 to get us in episode 10. I don't think Tal is going to die or whatnot. But I think the one thing I want to say, because I forgot to mention this too. Haven't we been talking about Lisa's boyfriend the entire time?
Mm-hmm.
Lisa on the grave is buried next to somebody with her same last name. I'm going to just predict that will be Lisa's husband instead, right? If it was really
instead of her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because the Reverend was Lisa's boyfriend. Because he was the one getting drugs for her.
Yeah. Okay. All I was going to say is, Mr. McDermott, your FBI, your agent skill and knowledge has failed you on this one. This is why you got killed, because this one didn't make sense. But nonetheless, no. I don't know who the other shooter is. It's definitely going to just be that extra person that we're trying to figure out who's on the board. And I think,
is it extra or keep in mind, Jensen's still on the board? That
Jensen,
guy who harassed, the guy who harassed Mariah at the dinner, who we saw also harass the judge at Martha's Vineyard years before, is still on the board. Shaft is still on the board. It's so many different people.
Shaft better not be on the board still.
Why would he be dead?
He should be open because he's out here doing the dirty work, man. These people are dispensable for Uncle Jack, man. We haven't seen his ass, so he must be gone. That's what I think. I don't know. I'm done with predictions. I just think that it was a good way to end the episode to kind of see what everything's going to lead to. So
that's a good way to put it. Here.
Yeah, we still don't have the arrangement. So we got a lot to cover next week.
So we know what the arrangements are.
Yeah.
That's the key reveal here, is what the arrangements are. Because with knowing what they are, you kind of narrowly point out some of the players who will be left on the board, whether it be Uncle Jack, whether it be Jensen, or we talked about it earlier, of anyone possibly that the judge ruled against or for Jack could also be on the board here. We just know what the arrangements are, but we don't necessarily know now still all the players that are involved with the arrangements. But you all let us know, what do you think about episode 9 of Emperor of Ocean Park? What do you think about the ending here? Will Talcott pass away, and will Mariah have to take over this investigation moving forward? What do you think about the conversations between the judge and
Hey, give me the Mariah and Sousa adventures, okay? Fuck it. That if that's what it's gonna be, then let's do it.
Hey, you know what though? If Mariah had to do something, it's gonna be grand. She got a private jet. I'm gonna keep on saying that. She has an unlimited, but she is literally Batman. And Howard is Alfred, staying at home with the kids.
Yeah, this checks out. This definitely checks out.
And who do you think Maxine is working for? Because her employer also still has not been revealed who that person could be. All we know is that she said that person's the good guy. Like, who do you think they're a good guy? Do you think they're not a good guy? But you can check us out again after the episode airs every Sunday. Like, comment, subscribe.
Damn it, she's working for Addison. That's what it is. Addison got protection.
Whoa. What happened if she's working for Kimmer?
Nah.
What happened if Kimmer sent her to sleep with Tal, because Kimber is still sleeping with Lionel, and she needed dirt on Tal?
Wouldn't that be
and
too
saying
considerate?
You can't be mad at me if you're sleeping with somebody else?
Like, she would have listen. She would have already. She would have already pulled out that drawer for her. She was not even going to wait some time around. She would have already had that.
If Kimber walks out in the next episode in some heels on the floor or something and says, "None of this would have happened if you'd just gave us the arrangements, Tal," and then Bentley and Lionel are standing beside her, and Maxine comes in there, and we find out it's all a setup.
This the goddamn end of this the ending of Power, when everybody's standing alongside of Noma. I see what you did there. All right, fine. We'll go with that. But listen, if Addison got protection for his brother, that would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be extremely interesting if he did that. But again, let us know what you think. Check it out. Like, subscribe, comment. We're here every Sunday after the episode airs. Peace, people.